And welcome. Right, start the recording. Welcome to Mastermind number 71. It's a great week, February 12th, 2024. My name is Hanif Brown, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you here today, whether you've been listening to us for a while or if this is your first time listening to us. So, as you can see here on my screen, this is the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Oh, I've never heard of this book before. That's okay. In this book, you learn what the rich teach their kids about money that the poor and the middle class do not. Written by Mr. Robert Kiyosaki. So this is our Rich Dad Poor Dad webinar / mastermind meetup. And so we're going to be going over a number of different things on our agenda here for today. Let's see what we have here on our agenda. February Valentine's Day is coming up. Big up yourself, big up everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. So we'll go over Think and Grow Rich and why exactly we meet. This is our 71st meeting. We're on chapter 7 in Think and Grow Rich Dad Poor Dad, actually overcoming obstacles, real estate education and news going on. Today we'll be talking about what is loan to value and land transfer tax. Going into the news a bit as well. From the cryptocurrency side, we're talking about what exactly are layer one blockchains and what is ledger. This whole myth world of crypto, what exactly it is. Well, you either stay scared of it or you learn about it. And so, as a disclaimer, the content here is for informational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing discussed constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments in this or in any other jurisdiction in which such solicitation or offer would be unlawful under the securities laws of such jurisdiction. Not a licensed financial advisor, not a CPA, and I'm not a lawyer. So consult your licensed professional. Investing in stocks, bonds, ETFs, mutual funds, and money market funds involves risk of loss. What inspired this whole meeting? It's actually this book. 3 years ago, I decided to take massive action on what exactly this book was teaching. I was like, okay, yeah, Think and Grow Rich. I read it before, hadn't taken massive action, but this is one of those steps in terms of taking massive action in terms of that. As you'll see here, you who read this book will get the most out of it by putting into action, into practice, the mastermind principle described in the book. This you can do by forming a study club consisting of any desired number of people who are friendly and harmonious. The club should have a meeting at regular periods, as often as once each week. The procedure should consist of reading one chapter of the book at each meeting, after which the contents of the chapter should be freely discussed by all members. Each member should make notes, putting down all ideas of their own, inspired by the discussion. Each member should carefully read and analyze each chapter several days prior to its open reading and joint discussion in the club. The reading should be done by someone who reads well, understands how to put color and feeling into the lines. And by following this plan, every reader will get from its pages not only the sum total of the best knowledge organized from the experiences of hundreds of successful people, but more importantly by far, you'll tap new sources of knowledge in your own mind, as well as acquire knowledge of priceless value from every other person present. So a number of people that have attended the mastermind, they've been taking action in terms of what exactly this teaches, the concepts of Napoleon Hill, and they've seen different changes in their lives in terms of applying what exactly is taught here in this book. So if you haven't read it, then take a look at if you're looking at improving your financial situation, or if it is that you're looking at achieving whatever it is that may be in your life. So let's jump right into it now with our Rich Dad Poor Dad. So we're continuing on our chapter again, overcoming obstacles. So let's just go over to see where exactly it is that we are here. Again, we started out talking about why the rich do not work for money, why I teach financial literacy, mind your own business, the history of taxes and the power of corporations, how the rich invent money, work to learn, do not work for money, and overcoming obstacles. That's where it is that we are right now. So let's jump to page 129. It says 129 here. It's a good day. And if you know me well enough, you'll probably know why it's a good day. All you have to do is Google if Chelsea played today and if we won. If we didn't win, I would have probably not been so happy. So we won 3-1 against Crystal Palace. Goals by Conor Gallagher and Enzo Fernandez. Beautiful goal, actually. This guy did the keeper bad in the game. It's weird because we almost got to the point where it is that it was a like 1-1 until like the 87th minute, and a flurry of two goals came in at the end. So to all the United fans out there, boo, we're not fans. Uh, we're Chelsea fans here. So, and if you're listening to this webinar, and you are a United fan, please stop listening and go watch Ole Gunnar Solskjaer videos and whatever it is that you United fans watch. So we're on the chapter on overcoming obstacles, and we're now talking about overcoming laziness. Let me make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. So we'll do the webinar for about 30 minutes. Then I'm going to shut off the live on Facebook, and then I'm going to be only on Zoom. We're talking with a couple of people about different things there. So overcoming laziness. Busy people are often the most lazy. Really? We've all heard stories of a businessman who works hard to earn money. He works hard to be a good provider for his wife and children. He spends long hours at the office and brings work home on weekends. One day he comes home to an empty house. His wife has left with the kids. He knew he and his wife had problems, but rather than work to make the relationship strong, he stayed busy at work. This made his performance at work slips and he loses his job. Today, I often meet people who are too busy to take care of their wealth, and there are people too busy to take care of their health. The cause is the same. They're busy, and they stay busy as a way of avoiding something they do not want to face. Nobody has to tell them. Deep down, they know. In fact, if you remind them, they often respond with anger or irritation. If they aren't busy at work or with the kids, they're often busy watching TV, fishing, playing golf, or shopping. Yet deep down, they know they're avoiding something important. That's the most common form of laziness. Laziness by staying busy. So what's the cure for laziness? The answer is a little greed. For many of us, we were raised thinking of greed or desire as bad. Greedy people are bad people, my mom used to say. Yet we all have inside of us this yearning to have nice, new, and exciting things. So to keep that emotion of desire under control, often parents find ways of suppressing that desire with guilt. You only think about yourself. Don't you know you have brothers and sisters? Was one of my mom's favorites. You want me to buy you what? Was a favorite of my dad. Do you think we're made of money? Do you think money grows on trees? We're not rich people, you know? One of the things my dad used to say is, you think I'm Rockefeller, you know? It wasn't so much the words, but the angry guilt trip that went with the words that got me. Or the reverse guilt trip was I'm sacrificing my life to buy this for you. I'm buying this for you because I never had this advantage when I was a kid. I have a neighbor who is stone broke but can't park his car in his garage. The garage is filled with toys for his kids. Those spoiled brats get everything they ask for. I don't want them to know the feeling of want or his everyday words. He has nothing set aside for their college or his retirement, but his kids have every toy ever made. He recently got a new credit card in the mail and took his kids to visit Las Vegas. I'm doing it for the kids, he said with great sacrifice. Rich Dad forbade those words. I can't afford it. In my real home, that's all I heard. Instead, Rich Dad required his children to say, how can I afford it? He believed that the words, I can't afford it, shut down your brain. It didn't have to think, it didn't have to think anymore. How can I afford it? Opened up the brain and forced it to think and search for answers. But most importantly, he felt the words, I can't afford it, were a lie. And the human spirit knows it. The human spirit is very, very powerful, he would say. It knows it can do anything. By having a lazy mind that says, I can't afford it, a war breaks out inside you. Your spirit is angry, and your lazy mind must defend its lie. The spirit is screaming, come on, let's go to the gym and work out. And the lazy mind says, but I'm tired. I worked really hard today. So again, key point here, Rich Dad believed that the words, I can't afford it, shut down your brain. How can I afford it? Opens up possibilities, excitement, and dreams. You know, how many times has somebody been in that situation? Maybe you yourself have been in that situation and you maybe said to yourself, well, you know, I can't have that. I simply cannot afford it. But if you look at things and you look at things a different way of saying, well, how can I afford it? Then you realize it opens up those possibilities, that excitement, and those dreams that you were like, I can't do this. If you're the person who's like, I'm content with what it is that I have, and that's fine, and you're fine with that. Sure, there are some people like that. Not everybody wants to hold, going after your dreams. You only live once, do it now. Do it now or don't do it at all. So if you're that person, then you want to start thinking, how can I afford it? If you're that person who wants to take things to the next level in terms of your life, you maybe have this dream. Maybe you wanted to travel somewhere. Maybe you wanted to do this. Maybe you wanted to do that, whatever it may be. Maybe it's something for Valentine's Day you wanted to do for your partner or significant other, somebody you're talking with. Think, how can you afford it? Don't think, I can't afford it. So let's continue. But I'm tired. I worked really hard today. Or the human spirit says, I'm sick and tired of being poor. Let's get out there and get rich. To which the lazy mind says, rich people are greedy. Besides, it's too much bother. It's not safe. I might lose money. I'm working hard enough as it is. I've got too much to do at work anyway. Look at what I have to do tonight. My boss wants it finished by morning, like one thing after the other. When are you going to do it? I can't afford it also causes sadness, a helplessness that leads to despondency and often depression. How can I afford it? Opens up possibilities, excitement, and dreams. So Rich Dad was not so concerned about what we wanted to buy as long as we understood that, oh, right. As long as we understood that, how can I afford it? Creates a stronger mind and a dynamic spirit. Thus, he rarely gave Mike or me anything. He would instead ask, how can you afford it? And that included college, which we paid for ourselves. It was not the goal, but the process of attaining the goal that he wanted us to learn. Again, it was not the goal, but the process of attaining the goal that he wanted us to learn. The problem I see today is that there are millions of people who feel guilty about their desire or their greed. It's all conditioning from their childhood. While they desire to have the finer things that life offers, most have been conditioned subconsciously to say, I cannot have that, or I'll never be able to afford that. When I decided to exit the rat race, it was simply a question of how can I afford to never work again? I met somebody recently and I was asking them, how did you get involved in what exactly it is that you do now? Because they were making a lot of money per year. I found that out after I asked them. I was curious. And after I asked them, they said, I realized that what I was doing I would have to do it for the rest of my life if I wanted to keep making money. So I wanted to become wealthy. So that's where the turning point came and I just changed things. They had no idea about the industry it is that they were gonna go into, but then they found the industry and then they were like, okay, yeah, this seems to be how these people are, becoming wealthy and more. And so they started doing that. That person had a turning point, but they were willing to look in the mirror and said, what I am doing now isn't gonna get me to where it is that I would like to be. I like to stop working one day for somebody else. I'd like to start working for myself. I'd like to have passive income. I'd like to wake up and not have to go into a physical office one day. I'd like not to go to that place, or when my boss says I have to go there, that you don't have to go there. You have a choice. Whatever it is that looks like in terms of what your ideal situation is, get to the point in your head where it is that you can look at changing that yourself. Where was that? Yeah, when I decided to exit the rat race, it was simply question of how can I afford to never work again? And my mind began to kick out answers and solutions. The hardest part was fighting my real parents' dogma. We can't afford that. Stop thinking only about yourself. Why don't you think about others? Another similar sentence. So how do you beat laziness? Once again, the answer is a little greed. It's that radio station, We FM, which stands for What's in It for Me. A person needs to sit down and ask, what would my life be like? What would I do if I had all the money I needed? Without that little greed, the desire to have something better, progress is not made. Our world progresses because we all desire a better life. New inventions are made because we desire something better. We go to school and study hard because we want something better. Well, if you ever thought about why you go to school, as opposed to just going there blindly because it's the natural progression after you maybe finish high school. So whenever you find yourself avoiding something you know you should be doing, then the only thing to ask yourself is, what's in it for me? Be a little greedy. It's the best cure for laziness. Too much greed, however, or as anything in excess can be, is not good. But just remember what Michael Douglas said in the movie Wall Street. Greed is good. Rich Dad said it differently. Guilt is worse than greed, for guilt robs the body of its soul. I think Eleanor Roosevelt said it best. Do you feel in your heart to be right? For you'll be criticized anyway. You'll be damned if you do and damned if you don't. So again, that last one. Do you do what you feel in your heart to be right? For you'll be criticized anyway. You'll be damned if you do and damned if you don't. And that's from Eleanor Roosevelt. I will pause there actually for today. So in revision, we're talking about overcoming laziness. And one would think from reading the subtitle that it's like, oh, you know, sitting on the couch all day and doing nothing and you're lazy and don't want to do anything. But after you read the first part of it, you realize busy people are often the most lazy. We've all heard stories of a businessman who works hard for money, hard to earn money. He works hard to be a good provider for his wife and children. Now it continues and continues and continues until down here, if they aren't busy at work or with the kids, they're often busy watching TV, fishing, playing golf, or shopping. Yet deep down, they know they're avoiding something important. That's the most common form of laziness. Laziness by staying busy. So it's like you know there's something it is that you want, whatever it is that that may be. You know, who knows what it is? It could be different for you. It could be different for John, Mary, Dick, and Harry. Each person has something that they want. But when you look yourself in the mirror and realize, you know what, this is exactly what I want. But you go do that and you go do that and you go do that, as opposed to confront that thing that you want and work on a solution in terms of getting it. What is that what that you want? And it takes a while to actually clarify that. It's not that you want money. Actually, very few times it's actually money that people want because money isn't real, you know? For myself, what I want is that I wanted time freedom, I wanted locational freedom, I wanted to create that better future for myself and family, and I wanted to go on a lot of adventures like I did with skydiving and traveling to different countries. It wasn't money that I wanted. Okay, so what? You have more money. What are you gonna do with it? Sit at home and just bathe in it? Probably not, you know? So there's something that you probably want. And take some time in terms of there's this book you can probably read, you know, talk if and you realize I bring up books and podcasts. Why? Or you know, you can check YouTube. Why I bring those up is because chances are if you do not have the things that you want, the easiest way of you doing that is that if you don't have people around you have the results you're looking for, if your dad, your mom, your aunt or uncle or somebody in your closer circle doesn't have the exact results that you are looking for, then in terms of certain areas, then you should not be learning from them. That's the truth. You have to be honest with yourself in terms of doing that. And in being honest with yourself, you need to go out and find the people The way it is that you'll get to the next level and get that thing that you want is by finding people who have what you are looking for. Take some time, become clear about the thing it is that you want, you define it, and that's your what. That's your what. You don't know the how, but once you define that what in terms of what it is that you want, then you'll get it out and you're dedicated to getting toward getting it, then you'll get out of that laziness by staying busy. Somebody asked me the other day, oh man, you're really busy. Say, no, I'm gainfully occupied. There's a very big difference there. Like, what is it's the same thing? I'm like, no, it's not, you know. Probably looks like a very simple thing, but you know, it's a very different, it's very different thing. So that's what we're talking about with overcoming laziness. So what exactly does that look like for you? You know, Rich Dad believe that the words I cannot afford it shut down your brain. How can you afford it? Opens up those possibilities, that excitement, and those dreams that you may have had. You know, thinking like a child who's 8 years old, what do you want to do for your birthday or what do you want for Christmas? They don't care that you don't have the money. They're telling you what exactly it is that they want. And when they tell you, well, you know, you're gonna have to be that person to break to them that look like that's not gonna happen. And you know, that's fine. If that's a situation, that's a situation. I've been in that position before. Granted, you know, I was a very modest kid, didn't really ask for too much. But as I grew older, I was like, man, like this having money is way easier. And like now you can travel, you know, you can spend a lot more time with family, you can do this, you can do that. Like it makes things easier, but the how you get there, you know, that how can you afford it opens up possibilities. And many people will tell you this, like you don't need to know exactly the how. Many people get stuck in the whirlwind of the how and you go around and around and around until it is that you don't even know what to believe anymore. You don't even know what to do. You're going down 10 different paths, right? But stay true to that what and the how will figure itself out. So I will pause there and let's jump into our next section now. So we'll continue next week with overcoming bad habits. Bad habits. What exactly are those bad habits? Do you have bad habits? Do I have bad habits? I definitely have some bad habits that I can work on. So uh, in terms of real from a real estate standpoint today, we're talking about land transfer tax and loan to value. So you're like, what exactly is this? So last week we went through knob and tube wiring. You know, if talking with your electrician about that, if it is that you're looking at acquiring a building, what this means in terms of knob and tube wiring. So let's talk about land transfer tax first. Um, let's just use here. And again, people, like these things are very simple things that you can find online and more, right? There's a lot of free content that you can get online. So let's go. Land transfer tax. When you buy a house, condo, or land anywhere in Canada outside of Alberta and Saskatchewan, you are subject to land transfer tax. So, and then here's Rate Hub. It's a very useful website. You can use a calculator to determine your land transfer tax amount. Now, this is dependent on the province it is that you're in your exact location. So, now let's say, for example, we're talking about Fredericton, New Brunswick. Purchase price of, for example, $500,000. You realize that the land transfer tax is $5,000. You're like, okay, how do you come about that amount? And if you use another province, you know, you'll say it may be different based on the purchase price and more. Let's see. Let's type London, Ontario. Here we go. And then you'll see if it's London, Ontario, it's a little bit different, right? You'll realize that it's not exactly 1% of that purchase price. It's actually 6,475. If the asking price is 500,000, who knows what you'll get for $500,000 in that place. So let's talk about a little bit more about land transfer tax briefly. So in most provinces, let's talk about what it is first, actually. So land transfer tax is a provincial tax levied on newly acquired land in nearly every province in Canada. That's with the exception of Alberta and Saskatchewan. So those investors who are there, if you are there looking at acquiring property, then that's a whole other different situation you're looking at. When you purchase a property, you'll be required to pay a percentage of the property value as a lump sum once the transaction has closed. For more detailed information, then you can see the guide below. So who pays land transfer tax? In most provinces, Canada, anybody who acquires a piece of land or a beneficial interest in a piece of land is required to pay land transfer taxes to the provincial government once the transaction has closed. And pay the government their cut. The land transfer taxes must be paid in full at that time and should be accounted for when putting aside funds for your closing costs. The only provinces that have no land transfer tax are Alberta and Saskatchewan. So, talking about land transfer tax and what exactly that looks like is, and it'll depend on exactly the province that you are in terms of how exactly it's what exactly it is that you pay. So let's go down here. You'll realize that Ontario land transfer tax on the first 55,000, 0.5%, 55,000, 1%. So when you're doing your closing costs, accounting for your initial investment of the property, the initial investment, legal fees, well, let's talk about all your closing costs, your lawyer fees, your land transfer tax, if you're gonna do an inspection, if you're gonna get an appraisal done, and more. And each property is different, each situation is a little bit different. And so you account for your land transfer taxes in those closing costs. Normally it's like 1% of whatever the purchase price, depending on what you're buying. In Ontario, that's it, as an example. Different provinces, it'll be different. So let's see. BC, it's different. If it's over $200,000 to 2 million, you pay 2% actually. So you have to pay the government their amount. The government is a business, people. They have to make money. In Saskatchewan, no land transfer tax. So that's what land transfer tax is. Now let's go to our second thing, which is loan to value. So what exactly is this loan to value thing? So you can go on ratehub.ca and you can find out about what exactly, more about land transfer tax. So let's talk about loan to value. What exactly is loan to value? So loan to value ratio, also known as LTV, refers to the ratio between the value of a loan and the asset it's secured against. LTV is one of the key metrics lenders use to assess risk before approving loans. So let's just get right to it as to what exactly it is. So calculating your loan to value ratio, simply divide the mortgage amount by the full value of the property. So as an example, if you made a down payment of $150,000 on a house valued at $600,000, you would need a loan for $450,000 to make a purchase. So now in this situation, so 450,000 divided by 600,000 is 0.75. That's 75%. This means you made a 25% down payment and your lender financed the rest at a loan to value ratio of 75%. So all it is that there's a calculator. Yeah. Oh, they want you to fill out all this information. Okay. Anyway, I mean, it's really straightforward in terms of the calculation. When you look at what the property's value is, one, whatever that property value is, look at how much it is that you're getting in terms of a down payment. If it's, for example, normally it's like, 20% or 25%, depending on your residential, commercial, and a lot of other factors. It's 25%. I mean, simply put, you minus 25% from 100, you're getting 75% loan to value. So understanding loan to value LTV is the loan that you're getting to the value of the property. That's really all it is. And yeah, that's really all it is. Especially when you're looking at acquiring commercial buildings, that's 5 units and above, that becomes really important, right? Normally you want to get well, depending on the situation and your strategy, a higher loan to value. Why? Because then, you're able to put a lot less upfront and you're able to use that money that you probably put in that property into another property that you're looking at acquiring or another stream of income kind of investment that you are looking at. So that's what we're talking about with loan to values. If you're talking about getting a higher loan to value that's above 80%, normally that's the max that banks will finance. But if you're looking at getting more, then you're talking about CMHC, for example, MLI select programs where you can get 90 to 95% loan to values and more. Talking about loans to value. See, top today apparently rates are supposed to go down. Today's top rates in, let's see, Alberta 5-year variable 7.2%, 5-year fixed 6.49, and this is rates.ca. It's public information. Anybody can go ahead and access it. So again, this is all public information. I'm sharing this because this is stuff you can go ahead and use, for free online and more. Having more sophisticated conversations, then that's a whole other thing. But that's loan to value, one, and that's land transfer tax. So now from a news standpoint, we're not going to go too much in detail here, but let's look at this week's top stories in Canadian real estate. So Canadian real estate recovery to take years, and inflation may delay rate cuts. Man, not good news again, huh? Canadian unemployment rate falls, potential setup for further rate hikes. Unemployment is one of those factors that the central bank considers in terms of managing what's going on in the economy. Like that's their job, people. Bank of Canada more concerned about inflation than speeches imply. And this one really, really caught my attention. Canadian business insolvencies surged to record growth, worse than data shows. So Canadian business insolvencies surged to show record growth last year. Regulators received 4,810 business insolvency filings in 2023, up 41.4% from a year before. And interest rates aren't even at their full peak in terms of getting through the economy yet. Wow. Insolvency experts warn this is just scratching the surface. See, there we go. Scratching the surface of small business problems. They warn the vast majority of businesses closing aren't even trying to mitigate their debt problems. They're simply closing and not being replaced. Wow. If you're looking at starting a business, I'm not telling you to be fearful, but this is what the data is showing. This also presents a very big opportunity as opposed to looking at, maybe some businesses close, and it opens up an opportunity for you to go ahead and either maybe do a similar kind of thing, or you put things with your own spin on it. So this article is talking about details in terms of what exactly that looks like with the business insolvencies. So, take a read at that. But so we saw two key things in terms of the past week. Last week, we saw where it is that unsold condos are at a record high in Ontario. Unsold condos, record high, right? And this week, we're seeing where it is that year on year, in terms of business insolvencies, up 41.6%. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot of businesses. If you compare that to the past 10 years and you look at the data, you'll realize that that's quite a big jump. So we'll pause there in terms of real estate right now. And let's jump to the market that's on the other side of things, which is cryptocurrency. So what do we have going on in the crypto market here today? Real estate news, we already went over that. Education. So layer one blockchains and ledger. If you've never heard of these terminologies before, that's okay. That's why I'm talking about them here. And so, in the whole world of cryptocurrency, it's an industry where it is that not everybody is so educated. I was not myself either until it is that I got educated and learned a lot more about the industry. And really, I'm still learning. And if you talk to any crypto person, they'll tell you, or somebody who claims to know that, they understand the industry, they'll tell you that they're still learning. It's still an industry that's still developing a lot, still a lot more room for growth, and we're still just scratching the surface in terms of the capabilities of this kind of sector. So in the world of cryptocurrencies, a ledger, or no, blockchain. Yeah, let's just do the ledger. So let's talk about the ledger. A ledger is known as a record-keeping system. The ledger keeps track of different participants' balances and all transactions that take place. However, the participants' identities remain anonymous. Public ledgers were used much prior to the birth of digital assets, but have risen more in prominence since the crypto markets roared to life. Both parties involved in a cryptocurrency transaction can verify the details on the ledger. Blockchain is a key type of distributed ledger technology, DLT, that records a list of financial transactions or blocks that cannot be changed, making it immutable. That means that you cannot change it. Ledgers tend to be decentralized, meaning that they're not overseen by a single central authority. Once a block reaches full capacity, new ones are added to the ledger, and select network participants dubbed as full nodes also retain a copy of the ledger. This means they have oversight of the network, the people who use it, and whether transactions are genuine. So, simply put, what is all of that saying? Again, let's go over here. I think this summarizes it pretty well. The ledger keeps track of different participants' balances and all transactions. So let's say that person A sends X amount of crypto to person B. Okay, transactions are taking place. Cool. But how do we record it? So as opposed to using a centralized kind of system, you use a decentralized ledger to record the transactions. That way, when somebody sends somebody else money, all you need actually is their wallet address, and you can go and you can check to verify that they actually sent the money to that person, because all the transactions are recorded in a ledger, right? And it cannot be changed. Therefore, it is immutable, right? So it's decentralized, it's immutable, and they remain anonymous. There are no names attached to these transactions. Public ledgers were used much prior to the birth of digital assets, but have risen more in prominence since the crypto markets roared to life. So now that we're talking about ledgers, let's talk about layer one blockchains. So that's what a ledger is, right? In a bank, when it is that you go ahead and you do different transactions, those transactions are recorded for you to see in maybe your banking app or so. In another city, and that is centralized. That can be changed. Therefore, it's not immutable. That is centralized. It's not decentralized. And so at any point in time, the bank can change this and that and whatever. We're not saying that, that's what's happening, but just as an example, because the bank has to have their own ledger as well. Now, with a ledger in crypto, rather, let's talk about distributed ledger technology. With this distributed ledger technology, as it's not only used for cryptocurrency transactions, it's used in a lot of different industries. And let's look at this in different industries that this blockchain is being used in banking and finance, HSBC, BBVA, Barclays Bank, Visa, being used in different airlines, right? Being used by Shell, Siemens, and so this technology has been one of the innovative kind of technologies that many organizations are looking at using. Some of your household names, even like Scotiabank, for example. Let me have some water. So as it is that we're looking at that, let's talk about layer one blockchains. Layer one blockchain refers to the underlying blockchain protocol that provides the foundation for the network. It is a distributed ledger technology, again, DLT, like we talked about a while ago, that has been designed to record transactions securely on a public, immutable, trustless ledger. So you're seeing those three words there again, right? Layer one blockchains are the most basic form of blockchain and the foundation for all other blockchain layers. So all the different cryptocurrencies that you see, all of them have to be built on some kind of blockchain. Now, whether they're layer 0, layer 1, layer 2, that's a whole different thing. They're often referred to as the core or foundation of the blockchain network, as they provide the infrastructure for all other applications and protocols that are built on top of the network. Their only layer, they are the only layer directly responsible for maintaining the distributed ledger, validating transactions, and securing the network from malicious actors. At the core of a layer 1 blockchain is a consensus mechanism responsible for validating and recording transactions to the ledger. So, common consensus mechanisms used on layer 1 blockchains include proof of work, proof of stake, and delegated proof of stake. So now here are some examples of layer 1 blockchains. Bitcoin, and Ethereum, for example, are layer 1 blockchains. And then, it goes into the differences between layer 1s and layer 2s. So layer 1s are the foundational layer of this blockchain infrastructure. So when you talk about, how does Bitcoin work? Like, what is it built on? It's built on its own layer 1 blockchain. So is Ethereum. And then you talk about what about other what do you call it? Other cryptocurrencies. They're built on layer 1 blockchains. So layer 1s you find are more the foundational layer, and they're responsible for consensus protocol, processing transactions, and maintaining the ledger. Layer 1s are typically permissionless, meaning that anyone can really interact with the blockchain and become a node in the network. Now, if you're looking at making money, that's another way you can become a validator in terms of having your own node on a network. Layer 2 solutions, you find that now these are more so for scaling solutions for layer 2 blockchains. They're used to increase scalability so the blockchain can handle a lot more transactions and efficiently, and are also generally cheaper to use. So they make things cheaper, faster, and increase volume in terms of what it is that you can do as they leverage the underlying layer 1 blockchain as a base layer. So that's exactly what we're talking about here with layer 1 blockchains. So that's what we're looking at in terms of education today, people. So, when you look at different coins there on Coin Market Cap, you'll find that different ones are, some of them are layer 1s, some of them are layer 2s. And so layer 1s, you'll find obviously they have their own blockchain. For example, BNB, built on the BP220 network. Solana has its own network. It's layer 1, so is XRP. And Cardano as well. Avalanche also has its own network. Chainlink, I believe, is a layer 2 protocol. Tron has its own. Polkadot is, for example, a layer 2. Polygon has its own network, and it goes on and on and on. Shiba Inu, did Shiba Inu become a layer 1? I don't think so. No, it's built upon a layer 1 blockchain. And so that's what it is that you're looking at. Looking at the market itself overall, over the last 7 days. So last week we saw where there was barely any movement in the crypto market, but this week we're seeing where Bitcoin is up 17% in the last 7 days. 17%, like that's a lot for Bitcoin. Normally you see Bitcoin maybe move like, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, actually 3 to maybe even 7%. And everything else is moving a lot more. We also saw Ethereum go up 15%, BNB up 8%, Solana up 16%, XRP up 5%, AVAX is up 18%, Chainlink up 7%, Dogecoin up 5%, Polkadot up 9%, Polygon is up 13%. So you find a lot of the layer 1s are up. Bitcoin Cash is also up 19.3%. Immutable X is up 28.9%. So if chances are up. That's why they say that. And you imagine a bull market. That's why they say that anybody can really make money, in crypto, depending on the certain conditions. So if somebody bought a couple of weeks ago and things were done, or rather, let's say 7 days ago, and this is the kind of volatility it is that you get used to. The problem is some people sell too early, right? And this isn't, you shouldn't do this in terms of trying to get rich quick or whatever. But you realize that, for example, Monero is down 23%. So privacy coin here as an example. So like we're all in the green for crypto. Everything's up. Look at this beam. This meme coin is up 65%. Crazy. Um, what else? Let's see some crazy movers. Dimension. This thing has been pumping like crazy. I think it was even above 67. This thing wasn't even in the top 200 a couple of weeks ago. What? 78%. It's up. Pith Network is up 20%. Neo is up 11. Bonk is up 30%. Meme coin again. Woo token is up 20%. Let's see what else is up. Let's go on page 2. Yeah, page 2. All green, all green, all green. Everything green. Everything is in the green except Monero. I don't know what's happening there. I'd have to look at what exactly is happening. Curve now is up 11. Fetch, doggy, fetch. Fetch is up 27%. And the rest refuses to be displayed. Anyway, we probably know that it's green anyway. Oh, that's weird. Just that part is not being shown. Superverse is up 57%. That's broken into the top 200 within the past 2 weeks. Dog with hat. The meme coin. Meme coin is pumping 74%. See, the whole crypto market is way more exciting than real estate, but that's the thing. It's less stable. That's the thing, it's less stable, way less stable, because one day you'll come here and all this green is this plus 30% is like minus 30%. And you need to be prepared for that if you're going to be exposing yourself to this asset class. Because that's what really it's like. API 3 is up 22%. What else? Flocky is up 16%. Space ID up 122%. Wow. 122%. That's a lot. That is a lot. That's quite a lot. Wow. That's the biggest mover of the top 200. That, and I think, what was it? The 74% one. So that's what's up, people, in the markets in terms of everything. I'm going to stop there for now. I'm going to turn off the live. See you again next week. Stay safe. Take care of yourself. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you for tuning in. Next week, we're on to the letter JKLM, M in terms of real estate education and cryptocurrency education. And we'll starting with, where are we in Rich Dad Poor Dad again? Overcoming obstacles. Where are we again? Overcoming bad habits. Overcoming bad habits. What's that song again? I'm not gonna start singing on this thing. What goes like it? My bad habits latent. That's where it is that I stop and I cut this thing off and I start singing. Bye-bye.